Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. Let's find out if I can. No, not yet. Or can I? Oh, here we are. Can I hear myself? Yeah. Yes, I can. Wonderful. And yes, thus we are here. How is your Thursday going? I hope it's a good Thursday. Mine is still somewhat hazy. I woke up somewhat late, but that's no excuse. No. We had a meeting. I'm part of this local association thing where we organize concerts and do other um, cultural stuff that is often related to heavy metal, but not always. And we do have like a weekly meetup in a pub, of course. And so I went there, and while at the pub, I realized that I hadn't eaten anything substantial all day, which is not exactly smart when you go to a pub. So on my way home from the pub, I decided to do the thing that all drunk Germans do, which is go and grab a doner kebab, and I did that. And the problem is, of course, that if you eat that like right before going to sleep, I don't want to get into details. But point is, everything smells like doner kebab and cigarette smoke because it's a fucking smokers pub, which do apparently still exist, and that's bad. But yeah, I'm alive. I'm awake. I even managed to make tea, so that's a good thing, right? We'll do the usual thing. We'll do two sprints of 45 minutes. I'll talk a bit around that in the hopes that someone cares and someone listens. Who knows? Hey, Mattia, how are you doing? That is you, right? I always get confused with your YouTube name. And hello, Britain. How are you doing? So yeah, I am in the unenviable situation that I definitely need to do laundry today because everything smells like fucking cigarette smoke, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a smoker, so I don't like the smell. Although I feel like most smokers don't like the smell of cold cigarette smoke either. It's just not good. Um, so yeah, I even opened the window, so if you hear birds singing or heavy construction sounds, that's why. I'm glad you're doing good, Britain. That's a wonderful thing. I finished reading The Incorruptibles by Dan Slater, and I am unhappy with it. I am, in fact, somewhat angry at it. But it's still a useful book for the things that I wanted to do. I just think it fails as a history book because it tries too hard to sort of like follow the true crime model of narrative. And the problem with that is, of course, that it can't do any systemic analysis. And I don't need every book to be hardcore Marxist and screaming class analysis and class struggle on every fucking page, right? That's not what I need. But if you write a book about organized crime and immigrants and the early union movement in New York around like the 1890s, 1910s, and 1920s. And you completely ignore the fact that there might be some economic connections between, those three things, and and there might be like a larger systemic thing at play that leads new arrivals, new immigrants into either organized crime or the labor movement because of poverty. You are failing your fucking job. right? And then if you talk about prohibition and talk about even mention the fact, right? Even mention the fact that the majority of senators and Congress members that voted for prohibition were in fact KKK members, and that the KKK and a KKK member and senator who voted for prohibition actually said we are against homebrew and Hebrew. Um, and you don't mention the words racism or anti-Semitism. You are fucking failing your job, right? It's so annoying because it has all these wonderful details, wonderfully researched, like lots of like personal details. It's brilliant in that regard, and he just completely fucking forgets to mention any like larger systemic reasons of why people might turn towards crime, or might turn towards the labor movement. It might Why there might be personal overlap between those things, and why there might be. It's so fucking frustrating. And if you read something like that, and that's that's from last year, it's 2024. It was published by Little Brown Company, which is part of Hachette. It's mainstream published. It's a big deal. If that's where people get their ideas of history from, it's like no wonder where we are now, right? People completely like it's so fucking frustrating. Yes, Matti, I understand, like that thing where you wake up and because you have to, and then realize that you could go back to sleep is so fucking frustrating. I know that feeling, and yes, Britain, it's the worst. So yeah, this was my morning rant about why The Incorruptibles by Dan Slater does fail as a history book. It's still entertaining, and if you want to learn interesting details about mostly Jewish criminals and Jewish crime hunters in the 1910s, it's a really good book. Just don't ever ask the question why, because that question can't be answered, apparently. Also, like, it's so ridiculous, right? He obviously talks about, slightly mentions Tammany Hall, which obviously you have to if you talk about New York at the time. And he makes that statement in 1915 when, what's his name? Charles Decker. Charles Decker, I think it's Charles. One the first U.S. cop ever to be executed on the electric chair, like convicted and executed. Period. When that guy dies, it's like, yeah, and with that, the power of Tammany Hall was broken. And I'm like, how wrong can you be, right? Al Smith, who was, governor of New York, even the first Irish Catholic candidate for president of the United States. He lost against Hoover, but still, um, was put there by Tammany Hall, by Charles Murphy, and that was in 1918. You can't say Tammany Hall was dead in 1915. It's factually wrong, and that's so fucking annoying to have these. The way that I mean, obviously, that history can be, told in all kinds of ways, but holy shit. When you say pirates, which one do you mean, Mattia? The book I was talking about is called The Incorruptibles. Kingpin, a true story of Kingpins, crime busters, and something, and it's by Dan Slater. It's from last year. It's definitely highly it's well written. It's incredibly well researched. It just lacks any sort of like understanding or broader perspective, and tries really hard to not get there. I mean, fucking Triangle Shirtwaist Fire gets like half a page. It talks about how it maybe radicalized some people. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, motherfucker. And 140 women died because of capitalism. You might want to mention that, right? And he doesn't. He just mentions that there was a fire in a sewing factory, and yeah, the fact that there were some systemic issues at play when you lock people into a building and lock the doors so no one can leave while working, and no one could maybe smuggle home some like pieces of fabric after work, and you lock the doors in a fabric in a sewing factory and on the ninth floor of a building, right? And then the whole thing goes up in flames, and people jump to their death out of a window, which is something that never ever happened again in New York. I am told. But yeah, big deal. The Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. It's important to remember, and yeah, it had a big influence on social welfare, labor laws, all of these things, and he just kind of completely fucking ignores all of that. The one I reviewed, I haven't yet made the video for The Pirates by George MacDonald Fraser. I spoke about what's the face? On Stranger Tides by Tim Powers, and obviously Treasure Island. I am hopefully finally making the video for The Pirates, which is spelled with a Y for reasons, I guess, by George MacDonald Fraser today, which is an incredibly fun book if you don't mind a lot of like over-the-top racism and sexism, which is very much in that book because it tries to portray the racism and sexism of pirate movies of the 1950s, which yeah, is a choice. It's incredibly funny because it makes Samuel Pepys jokes, and there's very few books who make Samuel Pepys jokes, which is unfortunate because Samuel Pepys, really cool dude. No, it doesn't mention Bugsy Siegel. It mentions Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano near the end of the book. It kind of ends in 1920 something during Prohibition. But it's very much focused on New York and a lot of like Jewish immigrants from the Lower East Side. So it's but no, it doesn't mention Bugsy Siegel at all. I mean, that's the thing is, if you do like a true crime instead of even like microhistory in a lot of ways, you pick stuff more for like the satisfying narrative, which I understand, but you got to leave out all kinds of stuff if it doesn't actually fit your narrative. So yeah. Okay. Well, if you pick up The Pirates by Fraser, I hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. I think the problem is it is slightly too long for its own good, because it's like a 500-page book, and since it's a comedy, a parody, it can get exhausting because you have to, have like some form of joke on every fucking page, and after a while, you're just like, there's a humor overload, I would argue. Well, Britain, I think he just Bugsy Siegel is slightly after. I would have to double check, but I think it was just slightly after the story that this book tells. So I think that's why he's not in there. I mean, it also only mentions Al Capone in like one throwaway line and so forth. So yeah. I mean, it only mentions FDR in only one line. So here you go. It's very specifically about one part of one part of one larger part of history, and yeah. I said, like, it's certainly interesting. It's entertaining, but it fails to draw any like larger lessons beyond well-meaning dude failed because he was meaning too well, I guess. And that's I guess it's like a larger issue with true crime as a genre that has been incredibly popular, and I think it is very popular because it always remains individual. It's about individual responsibility. It's about individual blame, and never looks at like systemic issues that lead to something. It's you have one bad guy, you have one good guy, and the good guy hunts the bad guy, and they're good or bad, but there's like no circumstances that make them good or bad. There's nothing like that, right? And that's a failure that I think makes it easier to consume, because it's always easier to blame an individual for being evil than to look at larger circumstances, because those we would have to actually face as people, and can't just like shrug off as, well, this guy was clearly bad. Hey Apollo, how you doing? I did not know about the Better Call Saul book. The only books I have on my list that come out in February are The Summer of Fire and Blood, which is not a George R. Martin related thing, but is a history of the German Peasants' War. And the other part is, of course, Oliver Cromwell, Commander in Chief by Ronald Hutton, which is part 2 of his, I think, 3-part Oliver Cromwell biography. So both of them come out next week, so I'm excited for those. Hey Kale, how you doing? Yeah. Now I need to figure out what to read next. There is one book that I'm very excited about. That sounds really good, and that is, of course, The Devil is in These Hills, or something like that. It might be slightly different, the title. The Devil is There in These Hills, something like that. It's a history about West Virginia coal miners and their fights against organized labor, which, something that has been going on for a long time. Well, I mean, it is summer where you are, Kale. 36 sounds reasonable for Australia in February. I think it could be much worse. Well, I mean, that book exists, Kale, and it's called Transwizard Harriet Porber by Chuck Tingle, and it's really cool. It also has dinosaurs, which makes everything better, right? Um, yeah. But yeah, I think it's either The Devil is There in These Hills, or possibly starting Howard Zinn's a people's history of the United States, which is one of those books that I've wanted to read for a long time, because it's a classic in a lot of ways. It's important. Yeah. There's also like I keep forgetting his name. It's a long ass city, like history of New York, that I might want to look at. That's Gotham, and the other one is Before Gotham or something like that. And they're like both like monster books, like 1,500-page monstrosities, like really, really huge books. But that's like me once again beginning to take the whole like, hey, let's write about New York gangsters and magicians thing way too seriously, and suddenly I'm I am unfortunately well educated about a subject that I did not know I wanted to be educated in. Something that never ever happens to me. Speaking about stuff that never ever happens to me, shall we go and do a sprint? I think that's a good idea, and I will be back at 5 past the hour, roughly. I think that's the best way of doing this. So let's do that. And I am back. How are you guys doing? Hello, Emily. You are new here. Thanks for coming by. I have not heard about The Women by Christine Hanna. Historical fiction, do you say? You say when and where is that set? Yeah, I did do some stuff. I went through my emails, went through my messages, all of that stuff, and I did in fact decide to go with Yes, The Devil Is There in These Hills as my next read. Because, coal mining strikes in West Virginia are something that I am currently interested in. And then I looked at they're called Gotham and Greater Gotham as history of New York from like whenever until the 1890s is Gotham, and the second one is Greater Gotham, which is from 1890 to 1919, and those are both massive books. Like we're talking Brandon Sanderson level of thickness here. The audiobooks are 67 hours and 53 hours long, so that's massive things, but I've decided to go through those because clearly you can't go wrong with knowing shit, right? So that's what I did during the first sprint. Also made new tea because, tea. So during the next sprint, I will, in fact, do some more like planning and stuff and writing things down for the service magician thing that I'm working on, because that gives me the excuse for reading more historical history books about New York and about labor struggles, I guess, which, it is what it is. I, for whatever reason, don't really feel like starting a fiction book right now, and which is a shame because I wanted to, read The Innkeeper's Song by Peter S. Beagle. I might do that. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. I mean, we'll see how things progress after the surgery thing tomorrow, and whether I'll be able to talk for a while, which is why I'll be doing the sprints tomorrow morning, and that's probably the last thing I'll do until Monday, possibly after Monday. I mean, once again, I've just never had any procedure like that before, so I have no idea how that will proceed. Yeah. What else can I say? I did not yet check the news, which I guess is a good thing, because it'll probably make me even angrier than I already am. I already started the day pretty angry, so there we go. That's one of the things I realized, right? I used to say that going to the gym and working out is something that helps me sort of like, blow off steam and release stress. And one thing I realized is that now that I'm basically doing this like as a routine, right, going to the gym every day, that effect has gone, because now my body is kind of and my brain is kind of conditioned to expect the workout no matter what, and now I need to find a new way of dealing with my anger at the world. We'll see. Maybe I'll come up with something. Who knows? But yeah, that's a problem for generally me in the next days or weeks. I mean, that's like the other thing, right? With the whole tooth situation happening. Maybe I'll then have like a more like a plan when I'll be looking less piratey. And then I can return to making that Mormonism video and making the Sanderson videos and getting back to the things that I wanted to do this year. instead of doing pirate videos. So yeah, we'll see. It's certainly one thing that has been frustrating me for a while, that there's all these things that I need to figure out, and but they're all outside of my control, right? Like the whole dentist thing is just like waiting for doctor's appointments, waiting for all these things until they happen. And I've done my part. I can't do much more. I just have to wait. And there's other stuff, the same thing, right? Where there's situations that I'm unhappy with, but they're outside of my control. And that's never a good thing, never a good place to be in, I think. But yeah, we'll see. I I'll definitely try to record the pirates video today. Yesterday I wanted to, and the light was good, and then there was some heavy construction out there, and they're using like heavy machinery, which makes it kind of difficult to record outside. And when they were done with that, one of my neighbors started to play very loud music with his window open, and so I couldn't record either. And I'm not complaining about that because it's something I do myself from time to time. So I won't complain if my neighbors are loud because I'm loud. But it certainly made recording outside difficult. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, this will not be a problem today, so I can record the pirates. I've at least made more and more notes on the script, so hopefully I don't have to record it 2 or 3 times until I'm happy with the result. At least that's something, I guess. All right, guys. Let's do the second sprint. I will, as I said, work on the thing for the Service Magicians Union. And yeah, good luck with reading, writing, productivity, tea drinking, whatever you're doing. And I am back. How did y'all do? I hope, you did get stuff done. I did get stuff done. Not as much as I wanted, but I did make some notes. I did, download the Devil Is Here in These Hills audiobook to my phone so I can listen to it at the gym. And I started, making more notes for the whole story about service magicians. Guess I also have to reread The Triumph of the Moon by Ronald Hutton for that one. We'll see. Certainly something, it's generally a really good book, so no harm in rereading it, I guess. So, looking at the time, I guess I'd better get my shit together so I can, get to the gym in time, or, catch the bus. So, I hope you have a productive day. I hope you get stuff done. I hope you have a good night if this is, you being in Australia, the US, or whatever. And I'll be back tomorrow morning and we'll see how that will go.